All right, here we are driving the 2015 Tesla Model S P85D. What a mouthful. This model actually came out in 2015. So it's about 10 years old, and as you'll see, this car has actually aged fairly well in terms of the features and all the creature comforts that it comes with, the performance of course. So is it still worth buying one of these in 2025? Well, let's find out. So firstly, I want to say thank you again to GVI dealership here in Auckland. They've been amazing to work with. They've allowed me to take this car out and review it. It is for sale, of course. It's around, I think, 38,000 K. And the mileage is, I believe, around 45,000 kilometers. So fairly low mileage. And if you look at other cars in this price range, this car stacks up really well if you're wanting an EV. Now, firstly, the cabin. Lots of very interesting thoughts on the cabin. There's a lot of things which they've thought about, you can see, in great detail, and there's some things which are a little bit funky, shall we say, but on the whole, it's a pretty impressive cabin. Let's start off with this beautiful gauge cluster. Now, of course, most Teslas don't come with gauge clusters, right? They come with just a single big touchscreen in the center here. And I do love how this Model S does have the center screen. Now, you can see right now, I've just put the autopilot on, and you can see it's got the lane guidance, and it's got the steering assist, it's got the radar cruise, and I'm pretty sure in 2015 this was by far the best autopilot or autonomous driving that was out there at that time. And it does a great job, and you can see right now from the lane guidings and the gauge cluster just how sensitive it was. It really made sure you were in the center of the lane. And many cars back then, even many cars now, which have lane keep assist and steering assist, they kind of sometimes bounce you within the lane. They won't let you get out the lane, but they won't keep you in the dead center of the lane. This one is very accurate. It can see the lane markings, and it will try its best to get really close. Another really cool feature that you can see right now as well is I love how the icon of the Tesla in the gauge cluster, you can actually see the brake lights when they go on and off. You can see the headlights when you turn them on and off. Lovely little details like that. You can see the fidelity of the screen. I mean, look at the resolution is very high. The fonts are quite small. I kind of like that actually, because a lot of car manufacturers these days still have very big fonts in the gauge cluster, and it's like, I know it's a safety thing, but the reality is I can still read the font in that, and it means you can fit a lot more into the screen. And what I love, if I go to my navigation here, and if I type in something over here, what you'll see is the map now appears there. And I love how the gauge cluster is incredibly just seamless. There's no point having digital gauge clusters if they're just fat, dumb, big dials. They might as well just be your normal analog dials. But in this truly shows you, again, if a 10-year-old car, they are making the most of a screen that can be highly configured. So I just love how the maps there, they kind of fades out, it only shows you the map when you've got a destination entered into the GPS. So very, very well done. Of course, you've got your road sign marking as well, and on the right you can see I've got my tire pressures. But what's also really cool is that even though they've removed physical controls for your temperature control and fan speed, guess what? They've actually allowed you to control it from the steering wheel. So if I press on this button here, you can see I can control temperature, fan speed, and a bunch of other things, phone calling and all of that. Straight from here I can go to the temperature, press on that, and you can see I can adjust the temperature all in the gauge cluster. So absolutely love this gauge cluster. It's really, really incredible and held up very well. Now this big screen, I'll talk a bit more about it later on when I'm parked up, but on the whole, very well designed. Some things, it's again very high fidelity, lots of small font, but I think some of the things are a little bit too small to press on, so it's a bit fiddly. And probably the biggest con is just how it's quite laggy, as you'll see. So I'll get to that shortly. Now the general cabin. Now this general cabin, it's definitely on the nicer side. I wouldn't call it like a full luxury car. But first of all, the materials. Lots of soft touch material. I think there's not actually many scratchy hard plastics in here. All this top part here, you've got this Alcantara suede on the headliner and in parts over here on the dashboard. You've got this leather, whether it's faux or real, I'm not sure, but anyway, it feels nice and soft. You've got, again, this contrast stitching, and some of the design choices are quite interesting. Like you can see here, you've got this sort of chrome, not chrome, but sort of brushed aluminum type finish, and then the door handle, of course. So I like how it's a bit different, it's a bit fresh. I still wouldn't say it's the nicest thing in the world, but it's pretty up there. One weird thing is storage. So as you can see, there's no storage in the doors at all, and there's a massive big piece here that sticks out. And normally if there's no door storage, it's because there's speakers that are in the way or things like that. But in this, there is the speakers way in the front. So I don't know, it's real weird. I don't know what is in this hump in the back. But no storage there. Now there is storage in the center console area, and it's fairly deep and large, so it kind of makes up a bit for the lack of door bins. And what's funny is that in this larger section in the front here, you've got these dividers which you can move around, which is quite cool. And I know a lot of Kiwi girls, they love their Frank Green bottles. Well, you can fit your massive Frank Green bottle very easily in this storage area here, so that's great. A little bit of storage over here as well, with a couple of USB-A ports, and then funnily enough, the actual kind of proper cup holders are over here. And the problem with these cup holders is that the armrest hides them. So if you want to use your cup holder, you move the armrest out the way, and then now you got your cup holder. But guess what? Now you have no armrest. So that's a bit of a funny decision there. In the back, lots of room. It's actually a mid-size sedan, so it's sort of relative to your 5 Series BMW, your Mercedes E-Class, Audi A6. You know, you do have a decent amount of room here, so it is quite comfortable for 4 or even 5 adults. There's no big hump down the bottom there for the transmission tunnel, not that there is a transmission in this car. So you've actually got quite a bit of room, and what's really nice practicality wise in terms of comfort is even the middle rear seat is heated as well. So all 5 seats in this are heated, and even the middle one in the back, which I've never seen before. And then the steering wheel here, this is also a heated steering wheel, and it heats up the entire wheel, not just the side parts, and it does stay pretty hot. So that's pretty cool. Funnily enough, the way the bolstering works in the back seats is that it's even got like mini bolsters for each individual seat. So that's kind of cool. Does kind of give you a bit more support. And these front seats here are also fairly comfortable. They've got great lumbar support. It is 4-way, so you can move up and down. I quite like to have my lumbar support a little bit lower. That's where I get more of a sore back, is just a little bit lower. And I had no issues with comfort in this. And the headrest, although it's fixed for this bucket sort of style seat, is actually fairly comfortable as well. So good driving position and good seat. And again, good side bolstering as well, which is great. Right, we're about to go into the motorway here, and you're going to see that this thing, of course, this dual motor here, one of its biggest party tricks is the insane acceleration. So you get a 0 to 60 time of 3.2 seconds, right? Like, that's pretty crazy. And it's a funny thought to think, when you're driving around any street, in any given street, you know that you could beat pretty much every single car off the line. Now, handling wise and all that, it's okay, but definitely straight line acceleration. This thing is just absolutely insane.
Oh shit. Shit, that's fast. It is scary fast. Oh. That was head banging back fast.
I know!
That is amazing.
Crazy, eh?
Oh, That is fast.
Basically, you can see here I've got my full self-driving, and it's very cool. I love how you can see the graphics of all the other cars that are around you as well. Just gives you more confidence that this car can see a lot of its surroundings. And I can show you here, if I indicate left now, it'll automatically change lane. I've got to just turn the wheel a little bit, and you can see there it's changing lanes, and stop, and bam, she's right in there. So yeah, really, really, really well done. And even little details that I really appreciate are things like, there's an option in here, so you pick your profile, and it knows that I like to drive say 4 or 5 Ks over the speed limit, right? Because normally the speedo is out a little bit. So it, by default, when it sees a speed sign, will see the speed sign and automatically add 5 kilometers to it. So if I double tap the radar cruise at any given time, it's gonna straight away go to the speed limit plus 5 kilometers an hour. So just those little details which Tesla has, you know, really well, really thought through very, very well. So that's, you know, it's things like that which I really do appreciate in this car. Now, exterior wise, I think obviously it's dated styling wise just a bit. It doesn't look too old, but certainly, you know, times have moved on. The headlight design and all that has become a bit more sleeker in the more modern Teslas, so you know, you can kind of notice it in this car. But on the whole, it's not a bad looking car. I do like the fact that it's got that sort of fastback style with the sort of hatch in the back. It just really does help with practicality. Good fun, really good fun. It doesn't get old. It's just stupidly quick. I mean, it really is. And you forget how fast you're going because you don't hear this big engine kind of revving up, right? So you don't realize you're suddenly speeding. So but really good fun. And of course the range in this thing is really decent. 400 odd Ks is what you're getting, which is more than enough for your daily commuting and all of that. And of course on our charge at home, we don't have a fast charger or anything, so it does take a wee while to charge, but it was definitely enough for me to get to work every day without seriously getting any range anxiety, so that was good. Now, the build quality in this is kind of funny. As we all know, the original Teslas did suffer quite a bit when it came to build quality. It was their older production facility, and panel gaps actually on the outside on this car aren't too bad. I did have a look. They're not too bad, but in the interior, there's just some wear and tear and lots of creaks. Here, there's one particular creak I keep getting on this seat, so it does kind of, you know, ruin the feel of it being a more premium car, shall we say. Yeah, just squeaky pedals and things like that. So, you know, it's not going to be as good as, say, you know, a Lexus or a Volvo or something with some, you know, really sturdy build quality on the inside. But again, it's not a super expensive car, at least now it's not, as a used car. So I wouldn't let that put me off entirely from this car, to be honest. I think it really does make up for that in many other ways as well. Right, now the ride in this car is really interesting. So this car has massive 20-inch wheels, and I can't remember the profile of the tyres, but they're very, very low profile tyres. And you'd think you'd get a crazy firm ride, but this thing does come with air suspension. And I've got to say, you do really notice how soft this car just glides over the roads, particularly because of the wheel and tyre setup on this car. You know, it's not super soft in the sense that, you know, it's no S-Class or anything, but when you are reminded of the wheel setup, the wheel size and the tyre profile, you think, gosh, it's actually pretty impressive how soft this ride is. So, you know, overall, it's a pretty impressive car. Again, 10 years old. It's actually held up pretty well, and yeah, I would recommend it, because when you compare other EVs around this, you know, I've driven some EVs recently that were 2022, 2023 models, much more basic cars than this Tesla, and they are mid to high 30s. So, I mean, this is the same price and, you know, fairly low Ks. So, if you do really want that performance and the practicality of a bit of a larger car, you want to go EV, this is definitely a great option for that. They really have tried to make this anything but your standard car. They've tried to get rid of all the conventional things that we are used to in a car, like just an engine on and off button, which many EVs still, they like to make it still feel like a normal car, but in this thing it feels, it does feel quite just unique. Everything's very automated. Yeah, no engine on or off button. When you approach the door handles pop out. You know, all those sort of things work actually fairly well. So I've not once, having this car for a week, I've not once had to use the lock and unlock button on my key fob. Now you do have some options here with your driving. They haven't got any set driving modes. They've just got acceleration, chill, sport, ludicrous, and ludicrous plus. Ludicrous is great. Ludicrous plus I haven't used actually, but I do know you've got to let the battery warm up for a while, and unless you are, you know, absolutely high, the ludicrous mode is perfectly fine as is. So, you know, I've been driving a ludicrous the entire time. Steering mode, you've got comfort, standard, and sport. And I find comfort's totally fine. Even in comfort, the steering is moderate. It's not too tight, it's not too loose. It's fairly direct in comfort mode. Sport mode, I found, was way too heavy. And normally when you've got a sportier mode and it's heavier, it's really because it's maybe hydraulically powered, and there's more communication and feedback through the wheels. It feels more direct, but in this car it just feels very artificial. It just feels like they've just made it harder to turn the wheel, and that's it. There's no other pros to driving it in the more sporty steering mode. So I leave it in comfort. And then of course you've got your regen braking. So if you like the EV feel of you know, it braking by itself, then you can leave it in standard mode, but I've been driving it in low mode. I guess I'm just used to normal cars where you have to use the brakes more. So yeah, that's how I use that. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. This car has been a fantastic car. It is again for sale at GVI in Auckland here. If you are keen to buy it, please do see Hayden and his team. They will definitely take care of you. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.